a lot earlier. Also has more, so just better, I think just a little bit better overall macroing skills for White-Ra right now, ahead in the harvester count as well in the unit count, and has even established his nexus. Also ahead in the tech tree because he got that robo facility down so much earlier than Naniwa. Hasn't really been pumping anything out of it, but still is going to be able to match and pull ahead of his opponent unless Naniwa can push in right now. And Naniwa trying his very best to stay active and keep active on the map, trying to figure out where his opponent is and try to poke and see if there's any hole at all. White-Ra will have some sort of early sight if his opponent does try to blink across here. But we'll see if that's going to be enough. So right now everything on the map is just Stalker and Stalker. So we're going to have a huge micro battle at some point. Might not be as even, and now the observers are coming out, so Naniwa finally adding some zealots to his mix. Doesn't seem like he's going to be doing, yes, he is going to be getting charged and finally taking his expansion as well. And here we go, we might be seeing some sort of action from Naniwa as he's waiting for his observer, I think, to arrive to kind of scout things out. Now taking down White-Ra's observer. White-Ra now getting ready for some sort of attack coming in on his side and trying to get out another observer as well. Naniwa going to be taking out this pylon pretty quickly and using the observer to gain sight across that chasm, but he won't be blinking because there are a whole lot of stalkers here just trying to poke at this assimilator the best that he can. And yes, should be pretty interesting. White-Ra at this point does not want that observer in his base, and Naniwa going to be retreating down the cliffs and trying to find some other place to attack right now. White-Ra now coming down, and look at how many stalkers he has out on the field. 32 over 22. Looking at the income tab as well, Rival definitely pulling ahead and should win this battle between him and his opponent, unless, and throwing down just more gateways right now. So a total of 6 gateways out and just pumping out, constantly trying to get some sight so that he can blink on the high ground if he needs to. Looks like some sort of weird, I think that's the grass highlighted by something, so I'm not entirely sure what that is right there, but kind of a weird graphic artifact. And 111 over 91 right now. White-Ra just really showcasing his ability to kind of just tech up and kind of anticipate, hold off his opponent. This is a pretty daunting army. If they blink across and do an enormous amount of damage, might be caught out of position. And now they are going to be blinking in right now, trying to take away as many probes as possible before his opponent can blink across. White-Ra with kind of a misblink right there, I think, to try hopefully jumping most of his army in. And Naniwa really needs to get out of there, as unfortunately one lone stalker didn't make the huge jump across that chasm and lost a whole bunch of units. But now looking like a Brood War game, as there's only a single unit. White-Ra has only made stalkers and observers this entire game. I think hasn't even opted, didn't even get that first zealot. So now these stalkers trying to fight across, and now this is going to be really bad news for Naniwa, as a whole bunch of White-Ra stalkers have blinked across the chasm, and more are waiting to jump over as well. Might be trying to get in some sort of flank or just waiting for that blink cooldown, and now going to be chasing his opponent across the field. It looks like White-Ra is going to win that battle and just trying to use his blink to jump ahead. Naniwa trying to use his blink to stay alive as best he can, and now going to be reinforcing with a mix of units. The Zealots do have charge on them, and he does have some Immortals in the mix as well. So Naniwa going to be changing things up a little bit. White-Ra just going to be focusing on using his blink to micro the best that he can. Right now forced to retreat at this point, as he's a lot of that fire went to the Zealots. I'm not sure if he was microing that individual battle, but now just trying to get onto the high ground. Does have, oh no, that is Naniwa's observer. So I think he did have some sort of sight on that high ground somehow. I'm not entirely sure if he had observed that just went down. And now going to be losing a bulk of his army. So unfortunately for White-Ra at this point, being forced to push back, and the advantage that he had, now that I think the entirely Stalker army suffering just a little bit to the kind of mixed army and there's some stuff going on. I don't know if there's lag or any sort of weirdness going on, but now White-Ra coming back in, trying to pick up everything he can at the expansion. And looking at the income tab right now, Naniwa has been behind the entire game, still behind right now, and White-Ra now going to be coming in, trying to seize an even further economic advantage by taking out as many probes as possible. These stalkers are able to get out. These stalkers here right now just kind of holding down the fort, more stalkers as the proxy pylon has been built in near the expo, near the top. And White-Ra's forces right now are able to do a lot of hit and run, but they're going to have some trouble getting out. They're in a bad spot right now here. The stalkers aren't going to be a blink out and will just go down to this army. So, but meanwhile, another two-pronged attack going down, and Naniwa has to split his forces to fight this. The Immortal doing a great job as it does a ton of damage, 50 against the Stalker too. So White-Ra definitely has to be careful at this point, trying his very best to do hit and run techniques and to keep that economic advantage alive. Right now it looks like he has mined out of his main, so is only mining off one base, and while he does have more harvesters, is unfortunately unable to keep up with Naniwa at this point. Naniwa now going to be making pretty much almost a full transfer over to and saturate his expansion and try to hold that down the best that he can. White-Ra meanwhile really should think about expanding or going all in at this point. Has a ton of probes at this base and could probably afford an expansion right now, but I think he's just still trying to focus on taking down his opponent. Looking at the army tab, White-Ra has actually fallen behind in his army. It's now 92 over 75. He was able to do economic damage, but meanwhile Naniwa just kind of bulking up his forces, and I'm not sure if this unit composition, now just 17 stalkers for White-Ra, is going to be enough. Naniwa now getting a war prison coming in somewhere on the map. I'm going to keep an eye out for it. Here it comes. Not going to be carrying any units, but just probably going to be opening up and allowing some charge zealots to come in and really disrupt all these probes right here. There are a lot of probes out here right now, and unfortunately this war person is caught and sighted by White-Ra, so he is able to take that out. White-Ra now going to be going with the Dark Shrine, and so going to be going, even though there are several observers on the field, still going to try to push in with those with the Dark Templars right now, and White-Ra jumping across the chasm, trying to get some damage down. This observer probably going to fall down as soon as Naniwa has a chance to fire at it, and observer falls down for White-Ra, so now unable to see across that cliff. Still has his proxy pylon right here, although most of Naniwa's forces are trying to reinforce this expansion, as this is vital for him right now. A few Dark Templars being morphed in right now for White-Ra, I think going to try to take advantage of the fact as the army leaves, he's going to move in, or no, just going to move in right now, right away, pulling the observers away from most of the action, and now probes just going down to the Dark Templars, finally running out of there. There are no probes here right now, so unfortunately for Naniwa, he's going to have to try to push pretty heavily with this force right here. White-Ra's forces unfortunately are caught very out of position. Doesn't really have too much to reinforce against this. The bulk of his army is sitting here trying to blink across. We might actually see a base trade right now, as I don't think White-Ra wants to run back in time to really defend, so going to be losing his third base, and only the second base that he's mining from. So kind of a risky base trade going on right here for White-Ra. Looking at the army tab, Naniwa is ahead 105-278, and going to try to come in here and do some massive damage with these charge lots and the Immortals. And right now White-Ra unfortunately just doesn't not have enough income really to reinforce down here, and has already lost this battle here, so not a very good base trade for White-Ra. The Templars are just one-shotting these probes right now, and it looks like both players are very, very low on their minerals. This is not updating right now effectively, so White-Ra just going to be losing everything, and is pretty much all in at this point. Even this probe is coming out here to do some sort of fighting. I just don't think he has enough to take down this army right now, even with the blink microing, that doing the best he can. But there's several Immortals out there right now. Immortals can just four-shot the when right now just like two-shot from the 3 Immortals if they focus fire enough. So doing some massive damage to White-Ra, and Nani still is able to try to mine, even though these Dark Templars are there slicing everything up. Now the main bulk of Nani's forces are tired of the Dark Templars and going to be running back to handle what White-Ra has remaining. Unfortunately for White-Ra, he isn't even mining, only has 7 harvesters left, and is not mining any gold at this point. Finally, GG. So a great game from Naniwa, able to switch out and didn't want to stay in that in the Stalker battle, which I think White-Ra was kind of hoping for, but instead switched his tech in and finally came back from behind. So Nani takes game 1, and this has been JCS StarCraft signing off.